Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is the place for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form, or you just want to give this channel some like love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing Gemini Man. It's a film I reviewed quite a long time ago, and I've just watched it again today. My friend bought it me for Christmas, and I've been on a rest day today. Absolutely, categorically had to rest to get well, super heal. And so, yeah, I'm going to be reviewing that in just a moment with a specific topic for discussion within that. So if you didn't know who I am, if you're new to this channel, I'm Sandra Bellamy. I'm the author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories. And in this book, it basically explains asexuality in the asexual spectrum in a way which shows you through the words of the actual asexuals interviewed in the book. And the interviews are done in such a way that it expresses their personal asexual story. So if you haven't already grabbed a copy of that, do go below and grab a copy with the link from the description below. And also, I published this last year, should I say, Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. Now, this is an autobiographical book, and it shows you how to manage fibromyalgia, to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier. But these techniques can be applied to everyday life, even if you haven't got actual fibromyalgia. So if you're into holistic healing, holistic medicine, if you like, for the soul, don't forget to grab a copy of this too. So getting back to Gemini Man then, I've watched this again today. I hadn't watched it for some time, and this was still as good as I remember it to be. So what happens in Gemini Man is Will Smith, basically, just before I go any further, there are going to be spoilers in this video. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to see it, please do not watch this video because I don't want to spoil your fun. If you're a person who loves knowing about films before you see them, or you've seen the film already, please continue to watch. So yes, Gemini Man, absolutely outstanding film. I love it. The cinematography, the CGI effects are absolutely effing incredible. Now, Will Smith in this is playing a double part. Well, actually, he ends up playing a triple part. So basically, Will Smith, the older version of Will Smith, this is him on the front. He, in the beginning of the movie, is an assassin. He kills the bad guys, presumably, right? But the problem is one of the missions he's sent on, which is the first one that you see in the movie, to kill this guy, and he's supposed to be a terrorist. His friend then invites him on a boat and reveals to him that this guy wasn't a terrorist. This guy knew some information, and that's why they wanted Will Smith as his character assassin to actually kill the guy, so that he killed a guy that didn't need to be killed, basically. And after this particular job anyway, because the kid nearly got in the way of the shot to kill this guy who was in fact not a terrorist, Will Smith had had enough. He wanted to retire. Now, as you know from watching a lot of movies, if you're like me, you'll know that when an assassin wants to retire, they can't really do it because they always have a history. They always have things they've done in their life and their past that comes back to haunt them. It's quite, normal for this type of movie to go down that path, and this was no exception. Gemini Man, in terms of genre, is an action thriller movie. It's one of my favorite genres of movie, right? Action thrillers. I love it because action, obviously, I love entertainment and action and like being on the edge of your seat with all the action. But also I like a thriller as in a whodunit, as in trying to work stuff out, that type of thing. So this covers both of those categories. I would say probably more along the lines of action. So yeah, really, really good storyline. It's very cleverly done. I did watch the bonus features on the DVD that my friend got me for Christmas, and the bonus features are incredible and show you how they did the two versions of him. And it was Will Smith, playing the two different versions. So, but what they did is they CGI'd over Will's face for the younger version of him with footage from his previous shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. If you've ever watched that, you'll know that he was in, you know, he was the lead. He was the Fresh Prince. So they've got like kind of old footage and put that over Will Smith's face, and Will's been like hooked up to all this CGI equipment. So he's playing his own character. It's very, very interesting movie. So anyway, going back to the storyline, the old Will Smith wants to retire, and then his friend says, I think you're in danger because you killed basically an innocent man and you didn't know, and someone set you up. And so that means that older Will Smith then has to go on the run to solve the problem of who wants him dead, because they come after him to kill him because he's killed an innocent man, but someone set him up, right? So they don't really want him going out for retirement. They know, you know, he's no use to them. They'd rather have him dead because he knows too much, right? And so basically it's a chasing game where he's constantly being chased down by the baddies to actually be killed. But he is the best assassin. He's meant to be like the best of the best. Like there's no one been better than him that they've ever had in the organization. However, what comes about is Project Gemini, which is where it gets the title Gemini Man from. Now, this is something they've been working on behind the scenes. And when Will Smith, playing his assassin character, was about 25 years old, 24, 25 years old, they actually cloned him. And so, and then they send the clone of him to kill him after he says he's going to retire, and he's killed this innocent man, which he didn't realize was innocent. And so this is like the younger version of him. So you got the older versus younger, and there's some terrific fight scenes when they're both in the same scene together. It's really cleverly done, absolutely amazing. And the psychology is what I really want to dive deep into, because Will Smith, you know, he's got ghosts in his closet. I think he's killed 72 people, something like that, and he just can't do it anymore. Like he's got like things coming back to haunt him, and he just wants to rest and forget all about that. And what happens throughout the movie, without, you know, giving every single little detail away, is he comes, you know, the younger version of Will comes to kill him. And what they've done is they created a clone of him, which is supposed to remove all the emotional aspect, because Will is a human being. He's got, you know, as the assassin, he's still got feelings, emotions, fears, things that come back to haunt him in his mind. And so he's a troubled soul, really. And what they want is they want killing machines. They want all of Will's character, assassin. They want all of those qualities to be in an army of basically clones, so that human beings don't get hurt, because apparently these clones are not supposed to be able to feel emotions. However, what happens is the young version of him does experience pain and emotions, and in the end these two make an emotional connection with each other, and this is what changes his mind. He didn't know he was born in a lab. He just thought he was an orphan and his parents left him. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. The whole film is all about reflecting on your past experiences, and what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself if you were to start over? Would you go down the same path, or would you go and do something different? And so when he comes face to face with his younger version of himself, he knows kind of what's going to happen to him. He knows the problems that the character's having, because it is him. It's identical DNA. And, you know, it's a very emotional thing. You know, he wished he'd got married, that, you know, when he was older, he wished he got married, had children, lived a normal life, but instead he decided to live the life of an assassin. And that's what he doesn't want for the young version of him. So he really doesn't want to kill the young version of him. And in the very, very end, that ends up being a third version of, you know, three of him. So there's him and another younger one. So there's this younger one and another one again. So it's very, very intense. Ultimately good action, you know. And I think this is something that you can take away from this film, is what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? Would you change anything, or wouldn't you? Now, in my asexual perspectives book. If you didn't know what asexuality is, it's a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction. And in my asexual perspectives book, I do raise this question as to all the interviewees. If you were to look back at a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give to yourself about asexuality? So I wanted to touch on this story from my asexual perspectives book. This is C.A. Altman's story. And basically, I thought this is a really good answer. So with C.A. Altman's story, if you were to look back at your life, what advice would you have given a younger version of yourself in regard to asexuality? I think this is incredibly powerful. It's all right not to have sex. You're not broken. You don't need medication. You're allowed to want love and affection without wanting sex or a romantic relationship. Just because it isn't common doesn't mean to say it's not normal. You know, and that's what I wanted to talk about. You know, asexuality is normal for asexuals. To not want sex is very normal. It's very natural for us. It's very innate to our being, you know. And in Gemini man, there is a romance going on a little bit between him and this woman, but in the end they end up being like friends, like camaraderie type friends, really good friends. So I think asexuals will love this movie as well, from the point of view is there is a kind of like a little bit of romance going on, but it's more like a friendship than a romance. It's not full on romance, I wouldn't say, you know, sort of a demi-romantic type of thing. No, grey romantic type of thing, whereas there's some romance but not full romance, you know. But no sex in it, no nudity in it. Really, actually, no, I don't like sex and nudity. Being asexual myself, don't like it. So yeah, so going back to a younger version of self, you know, like I think, you know, like if we look at the Wonder Woman movie 1984 that I reviewed last night, you know, the whole point of that movie was if we look back at our life and wish something else was different, then another part of our life would have been taken away from us in return. You know, and I think that's very true, actually. I think, you know, looking back at your life and reflecting on it, on what you could have done differently and having regrets, I think it teaches you that you can't change the past, but you have to make best use of the life you have right now in the moment, and you have to prepare for your future. You know, and if you're not happy about something, you need to change it yourself, not wish that the past was something that it can't be, but to learn from those mistakes, to learn from those experiences, to learn not necessarily how society thinks as a whole you should be learning, but how you learn best and how is best for you as your beautiful individual self. You know, we all have our own ways of learning and dealing with things and reflecting, you know, but we have to learn that the past is the past, but it created us to be in this moment now. You know, if I hadn't found out I was asexual, I wouldn't have never met my best asexual friend. I wouldn't have met my other friend who identified as asexual but now gay. I wouldn't have met lots of asexuals in person. I wouldn't even have those Christmas presents. You see the Pusheen, the cat, and the other one, I wouldn't have those Christmas presents because they were sent to me by an asexual friend. I wouldn't have met any asexuals knowingly, I don't believe. I wouldn't have been a speaker on the kind of stage area in London for the UK Asexuality Conference in 2018. I wouldn't have done this channel with over 150,000 views, I think it is now. Is it something like that? I know it's gone over 125,000 a long time ago, but I think it's gone way over that now. So, you know, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you. You know, I've got 5 years of information about asexuality on this channel, and, you know, raising awareness is just so important to me. It's important that people know that they're not broken if they don't experience sexual attraction, that there's nothing wrong with them, you know. I've gone on Facebook dating, and to me now that type of world is like alien to me. Like I dated I was in heterosexual relationships for over half my life. But now when I talk to heterosexuals and Facebook dating, the way their mindset is, like I can't really relate to it anymore. Like if I say I don't want sex, to me, I just don't think of any sexual acts or anything, you know. And then they're saying, oh, so what sexual acts do you like then? If you don't like sex, it's like, well, I don't like any sexual acts. And they're like, oh, I want to know what's on the table and what's not. It's like, no sexual acts are on the table. No sex is on the table. I'm not interested in that. And so, I've changed so much as a person during my asexual journey. And I've come to understand myself a lot better and got the most bestest friends ever in the world. Incredible friends. I've got an online homo-romantic Indian guy friend. He's beautiful, a very, very caring, loving friend to me. And I can wish for better friends. I've still got a heterosexual female friend. She's amazing. She knows I'm asexual, obviously. And my parents understand me better from an asexual point of view. So that's really good. So there's a lot of good things. So I think, when you do reflect back at your life, you have to also praise yourself for any good changes you've made, for any radical improvements you make. Because sometimes we look back at our life and we think of the regrets and the pain and the bad experiences, but we don't ever think of how far we've come in our life, how strong we've become, how much we've become resilient. Like I'm more about self-love, self-worth, self-respect and self-confidence these days. I lacked all those things in the past a lot, right? But now I stick up for myself more than I've ever done before. I appreciate myself, I love myself, and I remove myself from a negative mindset as much as possible. I have to tell myself that's not me anymore. That was a previous version of me before 2012, and I suppose that's kind of a parallel to Gemini man. It's like I've got a previous past life, but to me this life is better now than the past life I had. This is the young version of me, the vibrant version of me. That was the older version of me when I was younger in birth certificate age. So for me, if I was doing Gemini man, I'd actually do a role reversal, as in the older me would have been before and the younger me would be now, which is interesting because in the film Will Smith said in terms of acting it wouldn't have worked if he'd have done the older version of him had he been younger in the movie. That way around wouldn't have worked. And in my life, I would have to be the birth age I am now in terms of being able to look back at being the younger version of me now, if you know what I mean. So I have to remember the older version of me to appreciate more the younger version of me now, but I'm younger now. Even though birth certificate age, I'm older, younger in pretty much all the other ways, but I have a lot of experience. Oh, by the way, I got this top for Christmas from my parents. Isn't it so cute? Lots of Christmas stuff. So yeah, so with me, Gemini man for me is like reflecting of the past. Gemini man is all about thinking of a younger version of yourself and what advice you would have given. Would you have changed anything? But like I said, from the Wonder Woman movie, we shouldn't wish for something to be changed, because then that would change something else. It would take something else away. Like we might not have met the person. If I hadn't have discovered asexuality, I wouldn't have met my best friend. I wouldn't have so many friends now. I'd probably have one, and that's about it. And so it's very important that we understand that the here and now can be better for having some experiences in our past that weren't so good but led us to the path we're on currently. Even if it seems difficult and terrible at times, the truth will out. And I think you must be guided by your intuition in life and your instincts. It's something that's not taught in business a lot. It's something that's not taught in schools. It's something that we're kind of taught to go against as kids growing up. Like if we make a decision, it's kind of like, oh, why are you doing that? But sometimes you have to go with the feeling. You have to go with how that situation feels to you in your soul. And when you become consciously aware of yourself, if you do something that's not in line with your soul or be around people that are not good for you, you can feel it. It feels like a volcano erupting. That's how it feels to me these days, because I'm much more self-aware, because I have a lot more self-love. If a situation's bad for me, like years ago I might have been able to kind of bury it more. Now it's just kind of like a volcano erupting with lava going everywhere, and it's like you've got to get the hell out of there, right? You need to run for your life. You do not want to go through this type of thing again when you know from your past it was a bad experience. And I know there's kind of like a lot of stuff, like people say, oh, you can remember past bad habits, past experiences, and you shouldn't bring your past experiences to the present. But I must remind you that your anxiety is actually to help protect you as well, that not all anxiety is bad, and that's how we learn from our past experiences. Like, some people touch fire, then they learn not to do that again because it burns their fingers, right? And no amount of touching with fire, unless you decide to somehow make your fingers fireproof, or you've lost feeling in your fingers, or something's happened to cause you to be able to touch fire without it hurting, which it will hurt, you don't do it again. So you have to understand that you have to learn lessons sometimes from the past in order to have a better present and a more beautiful future. So I think it's very important to know that, like Will Smith, the older Will Smith, is full of regrets, and it's also important that you understand to live your life with no regrets, in the sense that do what makes you happy. He didn't do what made him happy. He did what felt good, because in terms of pulling a trigger, because he's an assassin in this movie, because he felt unloved by his parents at the time, and he was lacking in other ways in his life, so he sought to pull the trigger and hurt someone else for the pain he was experiencing. And I think the greatest strength is not hurting someone back that hurts you, but having the ability and the strength to walk away from those who are causing you pain, rather than going back at them and attacking. It's best sometimes to just walk away, to know when to retreat, and to know when to value your worth enough and not spend your time, energy on people that will never change, situations that won't change. All the time I've learned in dating relationships, you have to have the ability to walk away. You have to say that you'll walk away if this situation is not resolved, if you communicated your needs and your wants and your wishes and no one's listening, they're ignoring them. You have the ability to walk away, and that's what you have to do. Because if you don't do it, people will carry on the bad behavior, and and so sometimes in our past we learned that actually, the things that we should have done was left a situation. Like, I was in a bad relationship for a long time, for years, and I didn't leave it because I kept thinking, oh, the person will change back to the way they were, and I can make it work. Now I've decided that's not the way to go. The way to go, obviously, is, if you're with someone in a relationship, is to talk to them and discuss things and tell them what your worries and concerns are. But if they are not listening, if they're not paying attention to that, if they're overruling you, if they're pushing down your feelings and emotions, then they aren't the right person for you. You need to leave that toxic situation. For far too long do many of us live in toxic situations, where it's work or family or friends or career, and we stay there because we think we can't get any better. And that comes from a lack of self-love. So it's very important to love ourselves. And also, like with Will Smith, the older Will Smith, he's looking back at his past and feeling unloved. And he took to, like I said, cause pain to others in order to cover up his own pain, if you know what I mean, and make himself feel good. But that's not the way to go. The way to go is realizing that you're in pain and to express that. I had so much pain back then. I felt so weak and helpless, and now I'm healing now, because you have to be aware of how things were. And then if you want to do what's called a cognitive reframe, you can reframe the situation to your advantage. The biggest thing I've done in terms of reframe is understand that everything happens for a reason, and that things that happened in my past were necessary if I wanted to be where I am today in my life. But I wouldn't wish those type of things that I went through to be on anyone. It's very sad and lonely, upsetting and painful in the past, But I think you've just got to realize and value your own worth enough to walk away from situations that are bad for you, and to live your life as you need to live it, in the true, beautiful you. And so you can thrive and you can flourish and you can be who you're truly born to be. Everyone has the right to be themselves in life, but many people aren't being themselves. Many people are being like a Gemini man, in the sense they're leading an actual double life, which is another thing you could take from the movie, that so many people lead a double life because obviously he's undercover. And what happens when you lead a double life is you lose the real you. You lose the real you, and you lose the power to change around your life if you're always constantly wanting to live more than one life, want more than one version of yourself. You have to pick a version and you have to bring it to fruition and be decisive and understand that's who you are in the moment. It's no good wishing you were someone else or that something hadn't happened when it has. So this is kind of bringing up all about past demons and ghosts from the past, regrets, and he doesn't want the younger version of him to have that, and he kind of puts the world to rights by giving the younger one the life he never personally had when he was younger. And so it's very, very, very deep movie, I think, very philosophical, very interesting. I'd highly recommend you watch Gemini Man. Get it out, hire it if you haven't already. And it's good because there's no sex in it, because as you know, I hate sex. Really good storyline. CGI effects, absolutely incredible. Will Smith, brilliant actor in it. Really, really good storyline. Go and get a copy now, rent it, watch it, and just enjoy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this movie review. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please share this video with anyone you think may want to hear about Gemini Man. And I'll see you on the next video live stream. Until next time, brace your quaggy and each other's. Get us plenty of rest, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye. Bye.